Have to be here? Extra credit, class assignment, which was it? All the above? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, all right. What we're going to talk about today is some of the research and just general trends in the use of technology. How many of you have a cell phone? How many of you have a smart cell phone? How many of you have an iPad? How many of you have a laptop computer or a Palm Top or anything? How many of you have Xbox Connect? Okay. So what about desktop computers? Do you have a desktop computer? TV? All right. So a lot of research suggests that college students now have at least a dozen devices coming into campus. How you choose to use them is related to your major, your goals, and the purposes they fit in your life. Have you yet found the one device to rule them all? Do you have that yet? I know I'm still looking, I still carry my iPhone, I still carry my laptop, still carry my iPad, because I have not found that one perfect device yet. But it's out there. I'm still looking. So what we'll look at today is basically an overview of how technology is being used by adolescents, college students, and adults. We're also going to look at how technology is impacting our day-to-day life, how some of our communications, some of our roles that we play in our lives and in our families change as a result of technology. We're going to talk about how psychology is involved. How is it that we are affected, and how is it that psychology as a science is impacting the use of technology? And I've got a couple of specific examples that I'll share with you there. And lastly, with the applications of technology and psychology, we'll talk about some of the current technological trends in the use of technology in higher education and how they are probably impacting your classrooms now and will continue to impact them, especially over the next 5 to 6 years. If we look at all this data that I'm going to show you today, I've put up URLs for most of it on the slides, but know that most every single bit of it comes from Pew Internet Trust, which I've cited quite often, EDUCAUSE, and the Digital Youth Project. Another thing that I've done on a lot of the URLs, so you wouldn't have to try to copy down that whole one there if you didn't choose to, I've set up very short Google URLs. How many of you are familiar with like URL shorteners? You've used them before? I've set them up on Google where if you just have that first prefix of goo.gl, then you only have to write down like the last 5 letters. So you don't have to sit there and try to scramble if you do see something that you're interested in. And you'll see those typically down here on the bottom right of the slide, maybe on the bottom left. But do know that most of the literature that I'm citing comes from these primary sources. If you think about the question I asked you a few minutes ago as far as how many devices you have, think about how that has changed, not only in your lifetime, but also if you've talked to your parents, you've talked to your grandparents about the devices or technology that's been in use in their own lives. If we go back to 1975, this is a slide that was shared with me by Lee Randy. He's actually one of the researchers at the Pew Internet Trust. In 1975, we only had several different ways of getting information into the house. Basically, we had TV stations, you had news agencies, advertising, and radio stations. And the primary routes were things like phones, TV, radio, mail, newspaper. Okay. How did you look at that? Well, if you're looking at TV or anything that was a television broadcast, how did you view it? Here's the answer part. You tell me. It's right there. TV, good, all right. If we had a radio broadcast, how did we listen to it? With the radio. If we were going to read the news, how do we read it? Newspaper. If we want to talk to somebody on the phone, what do we use? The telephone, all right? It's rather simple. And we had very limited pathways for getting that information into, consumption, for production, and so forth. Shift forward to about 2007. Okay? And this has not even been updated for current technology. You think about all the ways in which, let's say, you can get your news. Aside from newspapers, how many of you have ever read a blog? You've read a news feed, RSS feed, email, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. There are so many different ways to get our information sources. Also, the way that we deal with it. How many of you have broadband connections at home? You have DSL or cable modems, wireless set up, XM radio. If you used XM radio or now Sirius. What about music? Spotify, Pandora, so many different ways to get all these different information into us and to consume, plus the different ways that we deal with it. TiVo, how many of you ever heard of TiVo or have one, or DVR? It's awesome. How many of you watch commercials anymore? No, what do? Skip through them, right? You used not to be able to do that. TV, radio, you can watch on your computer, your laptop, your iPhone, Android, all of these and many more, including gaming. How many of you ever played a game on your phone? Other than Farmville or something like that, okay? All right. Again, multiple devices, multiple pathways, much richer information. And another way that this would be updated now is cloud-based computing. How many of you use Google Docs or Live or something like that, where everything is in the cloud and we just trust it that it'll be there when we want it later? Or Dropbox. How many of you use Dropbox? I love Dropbox. I use it for everything I do. But we are no longer tied to a single location and a single device. And that's one thing that's really impacting our usage patterns. So this was a picture. Many of the images that I'm showing you today come from Flickr, using under the Creative Commons license, where people will post pictures and give you permission to use them as long as you give credit. You don't use it for commercial. There's a variety of them. So I'm not sure what the better deal is here. $1 for 10 minutes or $6 for an hour? You tell me. Who's my math major in here? Which one's a better deal? Yeah. It doesn't matter, does it? All right. So how do we use the internet today? It does vary a little bit by age. It varies a little bit by income. And it can vary a little bit based on ethnic background. If you look at the individuals that are using the internet, and this is information from Pew Internet Trust, you'll see that of all people that are using the internet, about 81% of men are using it. Of the people using the internet, 79% women. A little bit more white, non-Hispanic. Pretty much split evenly between black, non-Hispanic, and Hispanic. Look at the age differences. 18 to 29. How many of you fall in the 18 to 29 group? When's the last time you used the internet? How many are using it right now? Yeah, I'm not listening to you. I'm doing whatever, okay? All right. 30 to 49, a little bit of drop-off, 50 to 64. Big drop-off when we get to age 65 on up. Household income also has a little bit of impact, as you can imagine. Why do you think household income has such a huge impact? Is technology cheap? No. It's getting less expensive, but it's still something that you have to spend money on for sure. And a little bit of education experience also has input or influence on who's actually using the internet. If we look at what it's being used for, such as like social networking sites, again, predominantly, and you can see that you have outlined here where we have significant differences. We have significantly more women using social networking sites. What are social networking sites? Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Although LinkedIn is set up for a professional site, it can also be used for some social. So we have differences here as well. We also have differences across the age groups. And you see who our heavy users are, at age 18 to 29. So all this comes into play. We're seeing less differences now as far as location, urban versus suburban versus rural. Anybody guess why? Why there's not as much difference between these locations anymore? The expansion of broadband. I still have students, I still have at least one student that has a dial-up internet connection. Have any of you ever used a dial-up internet connection? Okay, do you still have it now? I hope not, okay. But she still has dial-up internet. The rest of my students either have cable modems or DSL, or they use the computers on campus. And that expansion of broadband into rural areas is really impacting who's able to use it. If we also look at across age groups, and youth being defined as children to adolescents to teenagers, we see that people are using it for different reasons than, say, some adults originally believed. How many of you ever had a study group on Facebook or talked about any type of class assignment on Facebook? How many of you have collaborated on a project of any type using Google Docs, Facebook, text messages, anything like that? Okay. What about independent projects that you've used some type of website or collaborative source to help with? Okay. All this is changing and showing that one of the things not only are people doing with social networking sites and other media, in addition to extending friendships and relationships, but they're using it a lot for school. They're using it a lot for their jobs. They're using it for both professional interests, educational interests, and social interests. And one of the main things that came out of the Digital Youth Project was talking about how, I know I've got 3 kids, and they all have iTouches now. And I'm mindful on what they're doing, but the second day they had their iTouch, they're recording audio. They're recording video. They're coming and showing me, look at this video that I made, Daddy. You know what it would have taken for me to make a video when I was 7 years old? We had this big, 7mm camera or something that had film you had to get developed. They're recording and they're editing and they're going here. And he's 7 years old, and I have a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old. They're creating stuff now within days of touching a device that would have taken me weeks to accomplish. And this is impacting us in the classroom as well, with student-created videos, other projects, and you'll see that later on. I'll show you a couple more examples. And one of the main things that we're seeing as a very useful job skill is not only helping youth understand the advantages of technology, but also appropriate use. Making sure that there's a right way to do a web search for information. If you want to find something, how many of you use a search engine, Google, Bing, or something like that? What do you do when you want to find something? Do you just put in every single word you can think of for something, or do you tailor it? Hopefully you tailor it, okay? Because if not, what do you get back if you put in every single term you can think of for whatever the topic is you're studying? You get a lot of stuff, right? A lot of stuff. And how do we filter through that? And that's one of the things having an impact and helping youth understand that we can be smart in the way that we use technology. This is some research that was done by a colleague of mine in my department, and we're actually looking at revisiting and replicating this. So this was from 2009. This is from Dr. Lee Gillis. Asked through survey, how many friends do you have on Facebook? And from 2009, got data suggesting that over, or at least 52% of these students reported over 350 friends. How many of you have more than 350 friends on Facebook, if you use Facebook? Okay, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 1,000, 1,200. How many, if you'll share? I can't hear you. About 2,000? Okay. Anybody else got 2,000 beat? That's about the highest I've heard so far. Okay. So another question that we asked, and it's related to the type of relationships that we have on Facebook and other social networking sites, is how many of these people would you see face-to-face in a given week? So think about the number of friends that you have on Facebook. How many of those people, if you had something important in your life occur, that you would actually communicate with them face-to-face, aside just posting it to your status or send them a message on Facebook? Does that number shrink a little bit? Okay, I would venture for many of us that it does. And so one of the things that we're looking at is trying to discern the differences between the type of relationships that we can have on Facebook and other networking sites, which are amazing as far as being able to reach a lot of people, but what are the depth of those relationships? How many of you have ever accepted a friend request of your sister's, cousin's, boyfriend's mechanic or something like that? Just somebody that, yeah, a friend of a friend of a friend's friend. Sure, yeah, whatever, okay. I'll accept it. Would you recognize that person if you ever saw them other than their Facebook profile? unless you're one of those lurkers. Anybody a lurker in here? So don't, yeah, okay. So maybe you would. So, but you can see these numbers drop dramatically. You can also, if you don't have enough Facebook in your life, found this the other day. In the UK, they're selling a shower curtain that if you just want to have your profile while you're in the shower, I don't know who's going to come in and read your page while you're in the shower, but nonetheless, if you choose to, if you need to have Facebook in your life that much, you can even have it in your shower. Facebook is everywhere. It's one of those things that has really grown. So it's impacting us in a lot of different ways. Texting. I want you to think about how many text messages you send a day. All right? We're going to look at some data and look at some trends. I also want you to think about when did you first start using text messages and who do you choose to text and how early, how early can it start? So, if you look at trends overall, 63% of American teens are using text messages every day. Some of you go, ha, that doesn't surprise me. I can do that in my sleep, okay? So, if we look at how usage changed using the cell phone, only 39% are using phones to actually talk to people on a regular basis. Versus one of the things that I see a lot with my students I have to be mindful of is email. How many of you still use email? Who do you email? Teachers. Had a student tell me one time the only time they use email is when they're talking to an old person. Okay. Now, while I can understand that, and I can understand that usage pattern, one of the things that I at least try to tell my students and try to communicate to them is that there's still many settings in which email is a very viable means of communication. A lot of corporations, a lot of businesses, if you don't check your email, then you're not in the loop. Now, granted, there are some organizations right now that are moving toward getting rid of email because why do you not use email? Give me some reasons why. Never check it, okay? Less convenient. Got to log in. Leaves a paper trail, okay? Sometimes there's things you want to share that you don't want anybody knowing that you shared, right? Okay, what else? Viruses. How about spam? Anybody ever blow up your inbox with just stuff? That's one of the things that we had communication on our campus about is students getting way too many emails about stuff that really didn't apply to them. And so the likelihood of them continuing to use it was not high. So we've tried to tailor those messages. And also I teach my students at least how to set up filters for how I send emails so they'll know if something comes from class assignment, that at least they'll get that information. This is some other research that Dr. Gillis started, and we're also looking at trying to collect some new data on. This was from 2009, survey of college students asking how many text messages per day were being sent. 37% were sending more than 50, 30, 26 to 50. Very few people were not using text messages. And looking at by gender, at the time this data was collected, now granted, Georgia College and the psychology major at Georgia College is predominantly females, and that's who predominantly answered this survey. So we've got a bias in the sample there, okay? But of the survey responding, by far more females than males were sending the most text messages. If we look at ways in which I know I've adopted to this or tried to adapt to it, is I've gotten now where I ask students to share their cell phone number with me at the beginning of the semester, and I set up in my email program a way to send messages to their phone with their permission. And at first, when I started doing this about 3 or 4 years ago, I thought students were going to be offended that I would want to send something to their phone. And by far now, they ask that I send that instead of regular email. At our university, all communication is supposed to come to their university email account. So that's the thing that we're still working with. So what I'll do is if I send a student an email, I use their university email account, but I copy it to their cell phone. So that at least they get the message. So if they haven't logged in or whatever. So that's one way that trying to adapt. In looking at this data, it made me think about usage in my own life. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I've got a 13-year-old daughter, 9-year-old daughter, 7-year-old son. My 13-year-old has a cell phone. I got her one much earlier than I ever said I would. But I started looking at text message counts. This top graph is my usage since last April. A max in a month of 615 messages. That was in May. I think it was when I was traveling. And if you look at this graph, this is my wife. And you can see that the months that mine go up, guess what? Hers go up too. Guess who I'm probably sending the most text messages to? My wife. Now I'm going to show you the data of my 13-year-old daughter. She doesn't know that I'm showing you this, and we will have a discussion tomorrow. But some interesting patterns. Number one, 5,319 messages in a month. Okay, that's kind of high. But there's some hidden data here. Now, I can't get into too many details without her disowning me. But during this time frame right here, there was a relationship building. It was at its peak here. Can you guess what happened here? And that's all I can say about that. I'm still keep the respect and love of my daughter. So, I also compared our cell phone usage as far as actually talking on the phone. And you can see again, you see some patterns between me and my wife. And although she did have a peak here, again, this is kind of during that budding of that relationship. Hers is by no means anywhere close to our typical usage. So, again, there's a difference between age groups about how phones are being used, cell phones, texting, cell phones, and so forth. We just need to be mindful of that. If you think about how it affects your day-to-day behavior, on our campus, we have crosswalks. Our primary campus is like a big quad. We've got crosswalks all around. And unfortunately, over the last year, I think we've had 3 pedestrian accidents. And I think at least 2 of them, maybe just one, there's a question of whether or not the student was actually texting when they were going across the crosswalk. I don't think that's the smartest way to go across a crosswalk. How many of you are familiar that, at least in Georgia, if you're in the crosswalk, pedestrians are supposed to have the right of way? Is that how it is here too? How often does that actually happen? Okay, and guess it doesn't matter if you're right, who's going to win if there's a car and you? The car's going to win, okay? So, don't text going across crosswalks. Be careful, But if you look at adults, been in a car when the driver was sending and receiving text message, 49%. Cell users, 54%. Texters, 65%. Been in a car when the driver used a cell phone in a way that put themselves or others in danger, 44, 47, 54. I love this one. Physically bumped into another person or object because you were distracted by talking or texting, at least 14%, And I'm going to show you some application of some data where they're studying the impact of cell phone use in driving behavior by David Strayer. I'll show you that in a little while and how it can really... how many of you believe you're good at multitasking? Okay, I'm going to give you a little test in a few minutes. We're going to look at some data on that. So let's look at other ways in which technology is impacting our day-to-day life besides our driving and bumping into stuff behavior. How many of you watch TV or a television broadcast on anything other than your TV? What do you use? iPod? What? Phone? Desktop? Laptop? When's the last time you actually sat down in front of a TV? Does that happen very often? We're seeing that usage patterns vary. And also, not only are people watching less TV on television sets, but when they're in front of a television, guess what they're doing? They're texting or they're using other devices. Okay, so that's one thing that's happening. There's something to always being seen, though. Y'all been on spring break yet? Y'all have spring break? Did you do anything fun? Did you do anything stupid? I tell my students, be safe, don't be stupid. If you're stupid, make sure somebody's looking out for your safety. Okay? But we're seeing a slight change, at least it was reported in the New York Times, that spring breaks are apparently getting a little bit tamer. When's the last time you had somebody post a photo of you doing something that you wish they hadn't on Facebook or some other website. People know that everybody's got a phone and a camera. It's kind of hard to deny something when you got a video or a phone or a picture of you doing it, right? Who was it that said paper trail? Much less having a photo. So we see that change happening. Also, think about how technology influences the way that we meet people, or heck, even the way that we interact with others. You can get an app now to help you flirt with somebody. You can get an app. You've heard there's an app for that? Well, there's an app for that. If you need help flirting, you can even get an app to help you flirt. You can find an app for everything. There's another downside to always using digital. How many of you actually wearing a watch? That thing you put on your wrist? Okay, like 4 people in this room are wearing a watch. Okay, and most of us are older. Why don't you wear watches? You got your cell phone, right? Okay. How many of you that use your cell phones as your timekeeping device can still tell time on an analog clock? Okay, good. Some of you, maybe you don't have to self-identify, maybe not as strong at it. Maybe you have to sit there and go, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, maybe not quite as easy. This is a blog put up by a friend of mine, Sue France, and she talked about having a student come up looking at a clock and couldn't figure out that it was 10:40. And that's something that's really, I'm seeing it a little bit with my students. Everything's digital. Everything's with their phone. Also, things like calculating simple arithmetic, dividing, multiplication. How many of you had to add something up, you want to get your cell phone out versus doing it in your head? No. I had my students one time, I was talking about a quiz, and I said it's 10%. They said, of what? I said 90 points, so 10%. Half the class reached in their pocket, and they got to about right here, and I went, no! Put that phone away. Figure that out in your head. And there's some, I swear, I think there was one girl I almost made cry. And I had to apologize to her. I was like, it's 10%. We just, no. But how many of you would reach for your cell phone if you even had to do something simple like that? It's changing the way we interact with information. Sue France, by the way, not only has stuff for educators, she's got a lot of good tips. Just about using technology in general. Highly recommend her website, especially for the instructors in the room. Good information there. Good stuff that some of it useful for students as well. How many of you ever used an e-textbook or an e-book of any type? Again, where are you reading this on? Are you using your phone? Are you using a Kindle? Are you using iPad, laptop, desktop, all the above? What's the advantage of an e-book? Or what are some advantages of an e-book? Easy to carry. Save the environment. Go green. Cheaper. You ever use the search capabilities in an e-book? Highlighting. You use the e-book in which you can share notes. Even there are certain e-textbooks that you, like the instructor, can go in and put in notes for their students, and the students can read those as they're going through the book. So there's a lot of different advantages. It's one that hasn't taken off fully, but there is a huge rise in the way ebooks are being used. In research by the Pew Internet Trust earlier this year, they looked at how e-readers and tablets are being used. And in January, they found that there seems to be a slight advantage of females over males as far as who's using e-readers. In tablets, it's a lot closer. And tablets include things like iPad and so forth. Age groups. Right now, roughly 30 to 49 is our highest. But look at that 18 to 29. Okay? That's definitely coming up. In tablets here, still 47%, 26% in that 18 to 29. If we look at race ethnicity, you see some differences. Right now, by far, most are white, both for e-readers and tablets. Household income, as you can imagine, also has an influence, as does education level. But if you think about it, which environments do you think are being exposed to ebooks probably more so than other environments? What about college campuses and people that are associated with higher education? I think there's probably a lot more communication going on about ebooks in those settings as compared to those outside. That's an assumption, though. If you look at the availability of ebooks, other than Amazon and Apple's bookstore and so forth, where do you get books? You can get free books several places. Project Gutenberg is a good one. Got thousands of books that you can get. Another one is minibooks.net. So, now granted, some of these are those that are now in the public domain. Are you going to be able to get your bestseller off of these books, or off these sites? Probably not, but you can still find a lot of very useful resources there. One of the classes I teach, I use a 2-volume set by William James. Who's in here a psychology major? Who's heard of William James? Okay, several of you. My students are able to get the book for free and use it on their laptop or readers, whatever, and they don't have to purchase the book. How about, have you ever had any type of ailment, illness, bump, growth, or something, and you Googled it to find out what the heck you had growing on your body? That happen? Okay. People are using the internet to seek health information. It's hard to ignore. When's the last time? Any of you watch, heck, I was trying to think of a channel. ESPN. Watch ESPN? Lifetime? Okay. No. Okay. Some of you, yes. All right. How many of you have ever seen any commercial for antidepressant medication, medications that will help you with your intimate relationships? Maybe you've sat there and listened to a commercial and talking about how you should feel, and by the time the commercial's over, you're going, dang, I didn't think anything's wrong with me, but I think there is now. I need to call my doctor. You know, this advertisement of prescription medications is having a huge influence, and also being able to go online and look up the symptoms for any and all diseases has an influence as well. You know, it can help us as far as being knowledgeable when we see our healthcare providers, but what's the danger of that as well? Self-diagnosis. Okay. How many of you have ever heard of intern syndrome, or intern syndrome, medical student syndrome, even psychology student syndrome? Guess what happens when we start studying symptoms of diseases? We see them in ourselves. Okay, I had that. I've had something not feel right before. Yeah, I've had my foot itch. Oh God, you know, oh, you know, I've had bad breath after eating garlic. Oh, it's all over. Okay, so self-diagnosis can be a real hassle, in that we can sometimes work ourselves into a tizzy. And when's the last time you went and saw your healthcare provider that you had more than 3 minutes with them? Anybody? You know, and that's not a dig on the healthcare field. It's the reality of what's happening now with managed care and a lot of our interactions. It's very rare to have an extended time. So this information can kind of work in both ways for us. Also, though, there's a lot of good information out there. How many of you are aware of the effects of physical exercise on mental activity and cognitive health? Okay, granted, I know I'm not a poster child for physical activity. I understand that, okay? But do as I say, not as I do right now. Exercise is very important. Not only is it going to help you physically, but the research is showing not only does it help with stabilization of mood, positive mood influences, but as far as maintaining cognitive flexibility, impacting our memory and a lot of other cognitive skills, exercise is one of the most important things you can do. Most important things you can do. And also related to technology, what are we seeing now with our kids as far as, how many of you visited a grammar school lately or been where kids, a huge group of kids were together? What are we seeing as far as body sizes with our kids? They're getting big, okay? You know, granted, we've taken PE out of schools, and guess what happens when they get home? What do we have? We got TVs, we got Xboxes, we got Game Boys, we got all the above, you know. Technology is helping people to be less and less active. So there's a downside to that as well. There's research that came out looking at whether or not a child had a TV in their bedroom and showing a significant relationship between that child being obese. Because again, what's going to happen if a child has a TV there? What's it probably going to do? Watch TV. All right. So. How many of you have actually read a physical newspaper? I don't mean to say that, I'm not being sarcastic. I just know that interaction with the data has changed. It's like when I talk to my students, there's some information I share on a phenomenon called backmasking. Anybody heard of backwards masking? We had these things called records. They were made out of vinyl. They were flat. We spun them around in circles, you know. How many of you have ever seen a vinyl LP? Okay. How many actually have one? Okay, cool. But I have students that have never seen a record, ever. They've seen them on TV or they've seen them on a website, but they've never held a record or seen a record. So I'm mindful that some of the questions I ask and things I'm curious about, some students have not had that experience. So when I ask about using the physical newspaper, you think about how most people are getting their news now. Some of you said a little while ago, you're getting it through your websites, you're getting it through RSS feeds, you're getting it through email or going to different blogs. And almost to the fact that some people are saying that we don't need newspapers anymore. What do you think the newspaper people say about that? Wrong. That's not good. Okay. So they're trying to adjust their patterns as well. And so to make sure the paper has more value. And what are people looking up? And there really used to be a demographic here as far as middle-aged males. Guess what was the most common thing that middle-aged males not only looked at, but also related to the number of apps they had on their iPhone? Weather. Okay? Might not be a big deal in your life right now. You get a little bit older, apparently we're all going to be struck by we need to know the weather and we need to know all the details with the weather, at least if we're male. Okay? Other things, local restaurants, businesses. How many ever use Yelp or use some other review device to figure out where you're going to go eat? That ever happen? Any of you blog about the food you eat? Do you actually rate places? Some of you? Okay. All right. How many of you looked up news of any type on your phone? Local news? How about traffic? My drive to the airport from Milledgeville is 2 hours. Main reason I have a standalone GPS is that it gives me traffic updates. Because that 2-hour trek can turn into 3 hours or 3.5. So traffic updates are very important. What about coupons or any type of discount? Groupon. All these have a huge influence now. I want you to think about now what has happened in your personal lives as a consequence of using a social networking site. In thinking about the type of relationships that you have experienced or that you have witnessed. In a recent survey by the Pew Trust in looking at adults, 85% say that people are usually kind. Are your experiences on Facebook and other sites usually positive? If not, why would you be on them? Okay, I would hope that they're usually positive. And actually 61% said they had experiences that made them feel closer to another person, whether it be your 2,000 closest friends or your 1,500, 500, or whatever. But there's something about that sense of community, right? That means something. But if you look at how many people have seen something mean or offensive, at least half of people do, and 15% reported they had ended a friendship over something that had happened over a social networking site. How many of you have ever gotten in a fight with somebody because of a text message or an email? You read it, and the way you read it maybe was not exactly the way they intended for you to read it. And so when you had a face-to-face or a phone conversation, there was an argument or some other communication that was not positive. Any of you ever been broken up via Facebook? You've seen somebody's status change. You go, oh, heck, I didn't know that. News to me. And that's something that, another thing we're looking at in our current research is the number of relationship changes that happen that people find out because of things like Facebook instead of face-to-face communication. How many of you have ever been broken up with via text message? Okay. How does that feel? No, not very nice. That sucks, all right? But it's influencing us a lot as far as this means of communication. If we also look at other negative aspects, gotten in trouble at work or school because of something that happened on network site. The lighter color lines are teens, the darker color lines are adults. Got into a physical fight. Caused a problem in the family. How many of you are Facebook friends with your mom, your dad, grandparents? You got them filtered? There are certain things they can't see? Oh no, they see everything. Okay. There are certain things you post and certain things you don't. Resulted in face-to-face argument, 25% of teens ended a friendship. 15% of adults, 22% of teens. One of the things that we're looking at Facebook and other social networking sites is how does it affect our perception of relationships, something I asked you about earlier. And one of the things we need to be very mindful of is the wealth of information and ability to create those relationships does not necessarily equate deep relationship. Because I have 500 friends on Facebook does not mean that I have 500 friends that have that same level of connection that I do with the people that I see on a day-to-day basis. That's just something to keep in mind. There are both pros and cons to that. You know, whereas it can be a con if somebody starts to assume that they have those deeper relationships, you know, that can maybe affect their self-esteem, but also there's something very powerful of having a lot of community and connected groups. So that when you do get information and somebody shares something with you, that does mean something, and it can help lead to those more positive experiences. Also, you need to be very mindful. When's the last time you posted a Facebook update or Twittered that going out of town, headed on spring break, going on vacation, going to a concert, anything like that? There's some research suggests that now individuals that want to take stuff from you are using that information to find out when you're not at home. Now granted, this was a very small sample. This was only about 50 people that had been locked up. But what they were showing is that of those 50 people that were locked up, many of them were saying that they were looking at Facebook and other social media sites as a ways to identify potential targets. So, kind of scary. All right, so let's look at the impact of psychology. Psychology, we look at a lot of different things. One of the things we look at is how we're affected. We look at the role of the individual, how the individual is affected by whether it be groups, whether it be by their own thoughts, their own behaviors, and so forth. So what is psychology doing? This is a book that's fairly simple. This is the play along part I'm going to ask you to participate in if you choose. It's a book by David Crenshaw called The Myth of Multitasking. I asked you a little while ago who of you were good at multitasking and some of your hands went up. I want to give you a chance to have some data. So if you will, if you choose to play along, just on a piece of scrap paper on the side of your notebook, whatever, create a graph kind of like this. You need to have at least 4 rows that you can have space to write in. It's going to be helpful to have 2 spaces next to it that you can record something that I'm going to have you record in a moment. And you can go ahead and write down this sentence if you choose at the top. Take a minute to prep that if you choose to play along. As you're creating this, does anybody know where the term multitasking comes from anyway? It comes from computers. Okay? In computers, we have the ability to have multiple processors. So the idea is with multitasking that we can have multiple processors dealing with different pieces of data, and so we have faster processing of information overall. So that term has been applied to human cognition as well, and also to the different tasks and different behaviors that we engage in. And this can be something ranging from, how many of you have ever studied while listening to music? And checking your email? And responding to text messages? And seeing what was on TV? And blah, 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 whatever. Anybody? Yeah, a couple, okay? More than a couple. So, I want you to do a little test with me. I'm going to call time in a minute. Don't write anything until I tell you to. And what I want you to do first is I want you to write an M in this row, then a 1 here. A U, then a 2. Don't write yet. An L, then a 3, T and a 4, I and a 5, until you get all the way through the sentence. So when you get done, you're going to basically have multitasking is worse than a lie, and you're going to have numbered 1 through 27. Do you understand the instructions? So M1, U2, L3. Okay? What I'm going to do, using my iPhone, is I'm going to time you. And when you get done, just yell out done. And I will call out times. And write down your time whenever you get all the way to number 27. When you get right down 27, say done, and I'll yell the time out. And I want you to write that down next to it, okay? Everybody understand? Okay. Everybody ready? Don't cheat. Shouldn't be writing yet. All right, go. $35, $36, $42, $44, $50, $53, $54, $56, $57, $58, $59, $60, $61, $62, $63, $64. Anybody still writing? 65. Everybody done? Okay, so you got your time. All right, now, different tasks for the bottom two. What I want you to do is write out the entire sentence. Multitasking is worse than a lie. Then numbers 1 through 27. So you write out the entire sentence, then the numbers. Fast as you can. Call out when you get done. You ready? Go. $23, $24, $25, $26, $27, $28, $29, $30, $31, $32, $33, $34, $35, $36. Anybody still writing? Okay. Compare your times. Who was a little bit faster on the second one? Was anybody faster on the first one? Okay. What was the time difference? Half. Okay. Why? How come? Do what? Concentration, one. What's another? Moving your arm back and forth. There's definitely a time cost there. What else? Do what? Two things at once. The term is multitasking. Were you actually doing two things at once? No, you're switching between the tasks. Okay? And guess what is involved whenever you switch between the tasks? There's a time cost. And what happens if we switch between studying, checking email, checking text messages, looking at the phone, looking at TV, whatever? Although it feels like we're getting more accomplished, what are we doing to the actual time that's involved? You're increasing it, and your effectiveness is also down. Now, granted, I did this in class. I do this most every semester, especially with my intro class. And I had a student stand up. She got really upset. She goes, "I don't care what you say. I'm still a good multitasker." I said, "I believe you know that you are. That's no problem. I just want to show you some data. You make your own decisions." Okay? But this is a short read. Dave Crenshaw, he talks about some of the research of multitasking, highlights it. It's very fast, but that's a little activity that I pulled from his book. What about the major psychology organizations? I'm going to focus on just three. That's the American Psychological Association, the Association for Psychological Science, and Society for Neuroscience. What are they doing as far as making use of technology and looking at how technology is impacting us and how it impacts psychology? Number one, if you go to their websites, there's information that is relevant for day-to-day life. Teaching psychology, something relevant to me. They're talking about being able to impact psychology education at the level of the high school student. Any of you have psychology in high school? Okay. Did it help or hurt you moving into college if you're taking psychology now? Hopefully it helped, okay? And looking at the science of how do we best prepare students, especially those that are interested in going into psychology. Also, looking at things like willpower, finance, and spending. What's our current economic status in the U.S.? Is it exactly positive right now? No. How many of you have been on a budget or need to be on a budget? What happens when we break that budget? Any of you have an emotional reaction to ever breaking a budget? So looking at ways to help people be successful. And also, very real for many of us, tax day coming up. Okay, what do? Looking at things like math anxiety. How many of you say, I have math anxiety? I suck at math. Okay. Actually looking at there are changes that happen in the brain when you believe that or when you have that experience. Also, this is kind of like a rub spot for me, Wikipedia. In its current state, I can tell you if my student uses Wikipedia as a reference for a paper, they don't get marked very highly for it. How come? As far as Wikipedia in its current state. It's some of its opinion, anybody can edit it, right? What if you were a mean person? Psychology is the study of bananas and coconuts. And then some high school student somewhere going, okay, Wikipedia, I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, okay. Psychology study of bananas and coconuts. Cited, 2012. And they turn that in. What's going to happen? Hopefully their teacher's not going to be happy. Hopefully their teacher's not going to go, I didn't know that. I need to go check Wikipedia. The problem with Wikipedia right now is that anybody can edit it. But APS actually has a kind of like an initiative, a drive, they even use the word initiative. They have an initiative to help get the information about psychology improved on Wikipedia. In its current state, I think Wikipedia serves a very useful purpose. For me, it's not for literature reviews and things that my students are doing in class for the most part. Also, looking at the math anxiety part, as far as being understudied, how many of you have ever had test anxiety of any type? Have you ever learned coping strategies for the test anxiety? Knowing that you don't need to wait until the anxiety gets too far out of control, that you control your breathing, you control your actual thought processes before you get too far gone. Because how many of you have ever been in an exam, had that anxiety, and just started freaking out, and it was over? There was nothing you could do. If you wait too far to intervene, then you're not going to have as high of a chance of success. Being able to help students understand that, or anyone that's taking an exam. Very important. Society for Neuroscience, one of the things we're looking at right now, how many of you are familiar with, or unfortunately have had Alzheimer's disease affect your family in any way? Devastating disease. So a lot of research looking at the possibility of helping with Alzheimer's. Influence of memory, granted this is an animal model, but hopefully being able to extrapolate some of those findings and apply it to human research one day. Society for Neuroscience is also great. If any of you are interested in biological psychology or behavioral neuroscience, there are a lot of good learning resources there, not only for students and just anybody that's interested, but also for educators and other people that want to learn a little bit more or have additional resources. Brain Awareness Week is one. Also, they have free guides, such as the core concepts, where you look at some of the main things in neuroscience, such talking about the importance of the brain, that our nervous system can be changed through experience. To look at the differences in how intelligence comes about, and also being able to understand that if we can understand the brain, maybe we can have influence on different diseases and pathologies we might not have been able to have a positive impact otherwise. You also, as you can imagine, look on Facebook. There's a presence there. Both APA and APS have sites on Facebook. You also have information coming in on Twitter. How many of you use Twitter for anything? Okay. How many of you have ever had to write an APA-style paper? There's a Twitter feed for that. Okay. If you choose to, you can get some tips on APA style. APA also has the Help Center there. There's a lot of resources there dealing with stress, building resilience, dealing with day-to-day challenges. APS has resources as well from their primary news coming out. Also looking at Society for Neuroscience. So all these major organizations have a presence across many different social media sites. So wherever you find it most useful to get information, hopefully there's a resource there for you. YouTube. A lot of wonderful videos on YouTube, not only from APS, but APA as well. Either interviewing researchers, looking at different phenomena, talking about different things that you might see in the media. But again, a lot of different information. It is also a topic of current research for these organizations. This is the publication that's put out by APS. This is from February 2012, and looking at the ways in which the different ways in which technology is affecting the way that we think, the way that we make decisions, the way that it impacts our cognition. Also, recent issue of the Monitor. This was from March. Virtual therapy. How many of you ever used Second Life or anything that's been like in a VR, virtual reality type of environment? The use of virtual therapy and being able to connect with people and help individuals, so like with PTSD, so that you set up an environment where you can help them cope with their symptoms, their stressors, and learn how to control them. And also, any of you been on an online dating site or know somebody that has? Do they work? Are they worth their while? Some of the research put out by APS, this came out in January, is looking at online dating, that there are some advantages. What do you think an advantage is? There's a lot of people using it, right? If I go fishing in a bucket versus fishing in a big pond, which one am I going to have a better chance of catching a fish, hopefully? Based on number of fish, not the size of the bucket. Say the big pond if there's more fish, okay? But also, what's the danger there? There's more fish. I might catch stuff that I don't want to keep, all right? So, and that's one of the things to be mindful of. These algorithms that some of the sites say work as far as developing harmony and lifelong commitment haven't been proven out yet. So that's one thing to keep in mind, at minimum. Texting. I want to show you how psychology is at least looking at some of the ways texting is impacting our driving behavior. Most every single one of us at least have seen or have texted or talked on the phone while driving. Can you do so while driving a motor vehicle safely? There's some research David Strayer is doing at his Applied Cognition Lab out in Utah, in which they actually put people in driving simulators, and they have them either talk on the phone or they have somebody riding in the car with them, or versus texting, a lot of different ways in which people use technology. And this is a video from one of those experiments. Hopefully we'll have sound. So pretty simple while you're driving by yourself, right? Hopefully. What if we change the scenario a little bit?
Oh, I need to pass this guy. Oh my crap, I missed the rest area. Well, I guess I wasn't paying attention very well. Yeah, it really hurt.
I don't think I've ever heard of that before, but I'm sure it's possible.
Saw the rest area go by?
Because generally, if you strain those too much, you're going to get into, like, pulmonary damage and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I never had any problem before or after, so.
Whoops.
Say
I passed
what?
the exit.
Well, are you supposed to get off?
Yep, totally passed it.
Oh, way to go.
scuba dive.
Uh-huh.
And always,
sure.
like, we'd stay about a week and a half in, like, for a trip.
Oh, I did? Shoot.
What did you do?
I missed my exit. Crap.
Flip at you. No, just kidding. Don't.
Yeah.
Turn around.
Do I just pull over to the side? Oh no, I even saw it.
Well,
I almost missed that.
yeah, I know. There's that dumb ambulance.
So having a passenger in the car is a little bit different,
Brakes.
though. It actually gives you another set of eyes.
Here's your rest area.
And so,
You know, we only have to go 7 miles. If we knew where we started, we'd be able to forecast when we're finishing.
It should be coming up here in just a second.
Yeah, but you're driving 50 up.
There it is.
Passing.
I know.
I was like, oh.
Do you remember if I should stop the rest area?
Yeah.
I should? Okay.
All right, now texting. Notice maintaining lane, not happening. And watch the speed fluctuation.
Oh boy. I crashed.
How many of you been behind that driver before? Okay. So what Dr. Strader's lab is looking at these different parameters. Now, why is it that having somebody in the vehicle with this is different than talking to somebody on the phone? You know, how is it beneficial to have somebody there, because that's another set of eyes and somebody else paying attention, versus us talking to someone on the phone and that being an entirely different way and different demands on our attentional capabilities. And also, as you saw with the texting, not good. I don't think it's good in any scenario. So, how many of you have ever been under pressure, any level of stress in your life? You ever played sports? Okay. One of the ways psychology is helping use technology, and this is application of sports psych. Any golfers in here? Anybody know there was this thing called the Masters this past weekend? Okay. Big golf tournament. One of the ways, and this is just one application, using technology, being able to help somebody understand their own physiology when they get into different competition environments and situations, how just like with the test anxiety, if you don't control your body, guess what you're not going to be able to control? Your mind, okay? And the mind and the body has a huge interaction.
Pressure. Pressure is defined as the amount of force that's acting on something or someone. We're here at the spectacular Medalist Golf Club in Hobe Sound, Florida, where we'll put the effects of pressure through an unforgettable test.
What it comes down to is we wanted to explore a few key variables that separate professionals from amateurs. It was a cause and effect experiment where we can take a look at what they look like when they're relaxed, and we're going to systematically ramp that up to see how they perform under pressure.
Our experiment on pressure began with Ben Lassiter. In 2007, Ben was drafted by the Florida Marlins, and he's a 14 handicap. Landon Bompenzag is our scratch golfer. He is currently the assistant golf pro at Loblolly Golf Club. And our final participant is considered the coolest, hippest, most laid-back golfer. Ricky Fowler has already established himself as one of the top draws on the PGA Tour.
We broke our test down this way. The first round was the low-pressure round. There wasn't a gallery of cameras. There wasn't even any other participants around when they were putting. We gave each golfer 18 putts in order to see how they would fare. We kept the same putting criteria for the second round, the moderate pressure round. But we added a host, a camera crew, a gallery. I mean, the pros deal with this all the time, but it was definitely a space invasion for our amateur athletes. When he was in the low pressure, he was averaging a heart rate somewhere near 60, but he's averaging much higher now.
You start focusing like on different things and not really focusing on, I guess, putting.
That the biggest reaction of all. He thought he was going to make that one.
Definitely a little bit more nervous with the cameras and everyone watching. It's something I'm used to. If I can't perform under pressure or in front of people, then I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
The next thing we're going to do is we're going to ramp it up. We're going to really put something on the line for them.
This is how it's going to work, guys. We're going to give you an opportunity to actually putt for cash, to raise money for the kids at Children's Healthcare Charities. You have 11 shots. If you guys want to decide amongst yourselves who wants to go first.
I'll start it out.
We know this in advance, that when people are under duress or under stress, it's really hard to think clearly.
Ricky's up a little bit, nearly double what he was at the first putt. My stomach's going crazy right now. It's really an eye-opener how much pressure you have when you putt for money. Not enough focus, and his heart rate is off the chart. Nerve-wracking, man. Really nerve-wracking. Ben's coming in really high. Uh-oh. Come back in, come back in. Oh! Yeah, he's in control here.
He's definitely in control. Looks great.
How about that? We're going to step right over here for another challenge. All of these markers, they're all set a foot apart. You have to start at least with a 3-foot putt. So you can choose the length of putt you want to take. Each foot is worth $1,000. But here's the catch. Unlike the last challenge, with this, if you miss, you also lose that amount of money. We've given each of you one golf ball, so you have one shot.
Start breathing a little heavier, and you start sweating a little bit, and not really focusing on putting.
Unfortunately, there's a lower focus.
$3,000!
You see guys trying to make it instead of hitting the putt and letting it go in.
His heart rate's climbing, climbing, climbing.
You've got to be kidding me.
He is about to blow out of his chest. Oh! Are you kidding me?
So we had to subtract $5,000. Ricky, it's all up to you. Do you want some help from the gallery here? Where does he need to go, guys?
10?
A little research on Ricky's average between 5 and 10 feet. We know that he's about 55%. So he's better than average, but he looks really calm. He's breathing well.
Heart rate dropping, dropping.
Significantly
dropping.
He's taking control.
That's great.
All right!
That's great.
That's how it's done, right?
One of the things that we noticed, Ricky, is that when you became activated, you were able to also execute. Where when the other folks were feeling that intensity, they weren't able to quite manage what they're doing.
Committing, trusting yourself, and believing in what you're doing is definitely key to succeeding.
That's the biggest difference that I saw between the way you managed your body and the other golfers. When they were standing over the putt, they were experiencing that pressure, but they weren't managing it physically. You didn't really manifest that pressure in your body.
It's something I've learned to do over time, and it's not something you can just learn overnight.
Very impressive, job well done. Obviously raised a lot of good money for charity. This has been quite an interesting experiment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, you might be asking, where's the exact tie-in of technology? All three of those golfers had recording devices on them that were portable. I can tell you, when I first started getting trained in psychophysiology, I had a stack of amplifiers that was larger than this podium. Can you imagine all three of those golfers with wires all connected to this big thing trying to putt or do anything? Would that even be possible? No. This research, the individual that you saw with the laptop and the person speaking at the very end was Dr. Leslie Sherlin. He's a colleague and a very close friend of mine. And they're working with athletes, professional athletes, to help them get to that next level, to help them understand how their body responds under different situations, certain different stressors, so they can best capitalize on the skills that they have and perform to the highest level. So without advances of technology, we would not be able to have that level and that intervention with sports psychology helping professionals. So let's talk a little bit more about how psychology is affecting people in the classroom. And this will tie up the last part of my presentation. A little bit of information and a couple of examples that I'll go through. as far as classroom application. Hopefully most of you are familiar with APA, American Psychological Association, if you're a psychology major, and know that we have guidelines that we go by, and that we don't just choose to pick the pretty pages in the book and then say, okay, that's what we're teaching. We actually have specific goals that we look at, ranging from knowledge-based research methods, critical thinking, application, values. Information and technological literacy is also one of those goals. Communication, social culture, and international awareness, personal development, career planning, and development. And we have different ways in which we look at the goals. We use guidelines, including different ways of using assessment, so that we can use the tools that best meet the needs of our students. So that when we have a classroom experience and we say that we're teaching something, we have a way to assess that and make sure that we're doing so. And we're trying to help students the best way we possibly can. Other things that we look at in relation to the goals of psychology is being able to see how we can help students. For example, helping them understand study methods and how there's a difference between, let's say, how many of you have ever studied and you're using a test bank at the back, or the questions at the back of your book, or maybe an online website, and there's an item that you didn't get, and so you look it up in your book and go, oh yeah, I knew that. You ever said that? Well, no, you didn't know it. If you knew it, you wouldn't have had to look it up, okay? That's recognition. And being able to help students understand there's a difference between studying for recognition versus studying for retrieval. How many of you have open book tests? A couple of you, not as many. So if we study for retrieval, is that the best way to study for a test in which we don't have an open book? We need to study for retrieval, and helping students understand that and help them improve their study skills is something. Looking at psychology, this is an article by Stephen Chu, and wonderful tips. In fact, he's got a YouTube series about how to improve your study tips. And you look for Stephen Chu, study, psychology, very good information. Also, all the organizations are trying to help teachers do better. This is put out by the PTN. This goes out as a publication to teachers at community colleges, and able to help people use online resources better, such as a psych lab or online learning tools. Also, how to use Facebook. Here's one in which they had basically a profile set up, and they had students interact with the profile, even though they knew the instructor doing it, and they still rated the profile as being, this Cliff Stroop as being more positive than the instructor, even though they knew the instructor was the one playing the part of the Cliff Stroop. So interesting to look at that dynamic. As far as the actual classroom, facilitate communication and improve learning outcomes and resources. One of the things that I pay attention to is the Horizon Report, which comes out every year, where we look at different technologies that might be coming around that's going to impact higher education. And some of the trends, mobility. Students want to be able to study, learn, or work wherever they are and whenever they want to. Do you agree with that? Okay. Also, cloud-based computing services, Dropbox, Google Docs, and so forth, no longer being tied to a single device or location. Collaboration, more collaborative projects. How many of you have done any type of project where it was a group assigned project? You had to work with somebody else to complete it. Helping students use this information to their best ability, and also understanding that education is no longer just sitting down in a classroom. It might be partly online, it might be partly face-to-face, it might be a hybrid. And also understanding the role of challenge-based and active learning. So that when you look at the technologies that seem to be on the horizon that are going to affect higher education, definitely mobile applications, tablet computing, like we talked about a little while ago, game-based learning, learning analytics, gesture-based computing, and the Internet of Things. All these are going to impact our classrooms or areas to watch, especially over the next 5 years, and they're probably going to affect your lives as well. Show you a couple of applications. As far as technology in general, how many of you have ever seen a brain imaging study, neuroimaging study? You've seen a pretty picture of a brain with different colors and everything. fMRI is a technology that's being used in a lot of behavioral neuroscience research. And the number of publications is rising significantly. Partly because of the role of technology and the improvement of the techniques, but also in the way to get the information out, and also a way that people like myself, instructors, can use data. I was fortunate enough to be in a study that took place a couple years ago, and participated as a control, not as the ADHD, and was able to have an fMRI performed. Now, how many of you have ever been in an MRI scanner? Okay. It's kind of a small enclosure, although it's a big device, kind of small enclosure. Here they are prepping me for it. I'm questioning whether I'm going to fit in that daggum hole. And you can see here, anybody see The Incredibles? You know when they're trying to get Mr. Incredible into that jet tube? That's about what I felt like trying to get me in that MRI scanner. But what you have here is I've had headgear on. This has a mirror because I'm looking at a display. And also this device right here, this is just a response pad so I can respond to the different stimuli they were providing. And also as evidence that I actually did fit in the scanner, they took a picture after I got in there. I won't tell you how hard it was to get me out of it, but I was able to get in it. What I was able to do from that study, the researchers shared the data with me. And by using 2 free software packages, I could take my MRI data. Now granted, this is CT data up here, but I can use CT data, I can use MRI data, and I'm able to create images that I can use in my classroom. I can help with my students. This happens to be a CT scan of a little girl that had a brain injury falling from a swimming pool slide, hitting concrete. This was my daughter. This shows a CT showing the swelling in the brain and also showing through that same piece of software how I can highlight the skull and show that CT is a wonderful tool for seeing bone. And you can actually see the skull fracture at this level. Okay? My daughter is fine. She had full positive outcomes. There have been no symptoms otherwise. But still, I took advantage of the data, and I'm able to show a real personal experience and help my students understand the differences between, say, a CT scan and the resolution of it, how fine detail we can see, versus something like MRI. And this is my MRI scan at this level versus a CT scan. What can you tell me about the MRI scan? Detail. The level of detail is increased dramatically. So guess which one is a better tool for looking at fine detail in the brain? MRI. Guess which one might be a better tool? I'm not a physician or I'll play one on TV. But guess one might be a better tool for looking at the bone fracture? CT. Okay. Also, would I want to get an MRI scanner if I had metal in my body? No. What happens when you turn on a magnet and you got metal? Metal goes to magnet. Not good. All right. Also, I'm able to take that same data. I can perform reconstructions. I can show them color-coded maps. Our brain does not look that way when you take it out of the skull, but I can create images to show different areas. And lastly, I can actually help them with the navigation, understand that when you see these 2D images in textbooks and on websites, that the brain is actually a 3-dimensional object. So in doing so, I can show going in from, like I'm coming in from the face and going toward the back. I can go also top down. And I can go in from the side. And I can help students understand that this is a 3-dimensional living object. And if you don't believe that's me, you see that flat spot on the back of my head and a little cone head. That's definitely me. Okay? So, other ways we use this technology is creating podcasts. How many of you have ever listened to a podcast or viewed a podcast? Had students who are having a hard time with some of the difficulties with identifying different objects, so they created learning objects.
One major landmark for anatomists is the central sulcus. Another such landmark is the lateral fissure. A fissure is just a deeper, internally more complex sulcus.
So basically create a learning object with my colleague Walt Isaac that students could put on their phone, they could put on their computer, take with them, and if they didn't understand something in class, they have time to review it later at their convenience. So using the tool as a way to help facilitate student learning. Also helping with technology as far as use in the classroom is having students create the media. Here's an example of a quick clip that a colleague of mine did for his group dynamics class where they looked at some of those patterns and those charts that I showed you with the usage patterns of the internet. Here's one on using Facebook.
Hi, I'm Max.
Hi, Max.
Hi, Max. I'm a 28 28-year-old male, and I find it easier to get political views on Facebook, even though it's sometimes biased.
Hi, my name's Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
I am currently a middle-aged single mother, and I update my status very often. And I have 7 children, which I'm all of their Facebook friends, and I follow I'm their boyfriends' friends too, and their girlfriends' friends. But I just like to update my status so people know what I'm doing, especially my kids.
Hi, I'm Keaton.
Hi, Keaton.
I'm Hispanic, and I don't really use Facebook that much.
That's what some of the demographics suggest.
Hi, I'm Michael.
Hi,
Michael.
Michael.
Demographic.
I'm a 67-year-old retired grandfather, and I happen to be addicted to Farmville, and I also comment on every one of my grandkids' status. I'm currently on Facebook all the time, even though I don't know what half the buttons mean.
So ranging from videos like that to more, I have videos where they've actually done role plays and they actually act out some of the data and so forth. So using technology actually helps students. The learning analytics part, I use resources to help students study online, do pre-tests, do post-tests, test themselves. I'm biased here because my role with the textbook, but using my psych lab for all my classes, I see a huge influence because students can get individualized feedback in a way that's much faster than I can do it. You know, when I have students turn in papers or assignments, I have to go through and grade them. When they do some of these activities online, not only can they offer more than what I can sometimes in a small classroom session, but they can do it when they want to, how they want to, and they can get immediate feedback. You know, think about how important that is. Huge influence. I'm going to stop there. Y'all have been very patient with me this afternoon. I wanted to leave a couple minutes to see if anybody had any